and gentlemen, welcome to Talks with Todd.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talks with Todd. I'm your host, Wit Todd, and we about to have a great show today, man. Listen, today I finally got a couple. I cannot close out my season without having a great couple on here to speak on marriage, because that's what season 4 is all about. It's all about marriage. And listen, you've seen this couple on here before, but they were not together. I had them on here separately, and now I was blessed enough to have them together. And this makes a great episode because I love this season, and this season, I told y'all about the people that inspired me, and I'm here to tell these two right now that they were also inspiration for season 4. I saw these two win 3 awards last year at the Oscars and announced that they had their doctrine. So it was like, oh my God, this is great. This is what I like to see. Like, a lot of people have couple goals and all of that stuff and say, oh yeah, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and there's nothing wrong with them, but I don't idolize celebrities. I like the people that I see. I like the people that's right in front of me. I get inspired from them. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's welcome Calvin and Heather Mann.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. How y'all doing?
Awesome.
That's good. That's good.
Is that a big enough smile?
Yeah. So today I want to speak to you both about keeping marriage strong and what that looks like for you guys and how you guys have helped other people keep their marriage strong.
Wow.
Ladies first.
Yes.
Oh, okay. For us, one of the things that we have and that we keep first is God. Okay. God is our ally, our asset, and our reset. And so having that as a common ground and a common mindset, I think that helps us through the difficult times. It helps us experience our joy in real ways. And the other thing is having conversations.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So those two things. And then also, having some fun. Yeah. Because you cannot be in the same room with Calvin for a long period of time and not laugh.
Yeah, that's important. Laughing is definitely important.
That is important.
Yeah. What about you, Cal?
Well, after what I witnessed my brother do this week, laying his wife to rest after 45 years, seeing a man put away his wife in that way.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it takes a considerable amount of truth. When I think about just their relationship, right? Because I'm the multiple breakup. I had a whole bunch of stuff.
Join the club, bro.
Right.
Join the club. It's all good.
Right. And I value the experience, and I value my second.
Yeah.
Of 20 years experience. I value that. But watching my brother put away his wife in a manner that I've never seen a man love a woman. That we got a lot of work when you see someone go through the things they took it from. Now, this is what it goes against everything that you would say. What a good marriage is. She was 18, he was 21. They got married.
Wow.
She had just graduated high school, right? But she found the Lord at 17 before she turned 18. So her first man was God.
That's important.
So she then told you, this is what's so powerful about that, because she told my brother, we can't be boyfriend and girlfriend no more, and we can't do no more of that stuff.
Yeah.
She ended up being the one to bring my brother to Christ.
That's dope. That is dope. Yeah.
Right? Now, is in my brother's bloodline, because he come from pastors just like I do. He come from the same lineage.
Right.
But he was looking at some things and made that decision. So to me, the biggest thing that you have to have a good marriage is the person that you're with, you both should be in truth, no lies. And it's hard for people to accept some people's truth.
Yeah.
Right? We'll put the limitations, we'll put the I won't do that, I ain't gonna do that. We'll put all those things on it.
Yep.
But watching that love story, it's the truth. And this relationship, this marriage is the most honest I've ever been, forward to back. I mean, I'm even snitching on myself at the dreams, brother. Right? If she asks, I'm telling her.
Yeah.
Right? It is her acceptance of what I share.
Yeah.
Right? That allows that to grow.
Now, how important is that how important is the acceptance part of the honesty for you guys?
Oh, that's big.
Okay. And it makes you more comfortable to just tell the truth?
Yeah, because, women, they like it dressed up a little bit, you know what I mean?
Right.
But, I don't know if I'm good at dressing it up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's come to a place where she, she can accept it, how I said. And she's gotten to a place now she can translate it.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Nice. I mean, I suppose it's all about delivery.
Yeah. I struggle though. If I'm telling a truth, because I'm gonna tell it how it came.
Right.
And so I might struggle in that part, but there's some things that I've said, that could be harsh as well. And she checked me.
Yeah, I get that. But the important thing is that when you hear the truth, you grow from it. So, or at least get pushed in the direction to make those changes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's dope. I love that. Like, a lot of people kind of sleep on honesty and transparency, especially in marriage, because I met plenty of dudes and they're scared of their wives, and I'm like, why? Well, how do you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody you fear? It's weird to me. I never understood it, but I guess that's why friendship is important to me. That me and my wife could tell each other the truth, no matter how harsh it is. But what keep us grounded is that we was friends first. You was my homegirl at one point.
Yeah.
I was your homeboy. We can keep it real.
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
Friendship is.
Yeah.
It is.
How did you guys' friendship start?
She was stalking me, dog. She was in the bushes.
So we have a beginning, and then we have the beginning of our relationship.
Right.
So our beginning, we met actually related to business. Calvin was coming to get some support for his organization for Encourage Me, I'm Young. And I helped offer that support, and just, like most people who meet Calvin, and he's talking about the vision and the work that he does with boys, men, husbands, and fathers, I was totally in support of it. And so we just kind of grew in our friendship throughout the years. Both of us were married. Both of us this is our third marriage. And Calvin calls it our first marriage, but this is our third marriage. And, but at the point where things shifted was really the point where God opened my eyes.
Gotcha.
And I say that because I had my list of the things that I wanted in a man and a mate. And this is where I tell women all the time, you have to know what you want. Mm-hmm. And you can have some fun stuff. Like I had some fun stuff on my list, but I had a really exhaustive list because I made that list after my first marriage and divorce.
Right.
And so, it gives you some perspective of what you want. I don't ever write what I don't want. I write down what I want. What I want will supersede what I don't want. And so I had this exhaustive list, and after some years of our friendship, because one of the things that was on my list is that it would be somebody that I knew, because I always had issues in my relationships about how I worked, the fact that I would work with men, the fact that I was working 3 hours shifts a day, whatever that was, it was always the issue with my work. Gotcha. And so if you already knew how my work life is and the demands and the people, you have to be secure with that.
Yep.
And so I had that on my list because I knew it was a pain point for me. I had some other things on my list, but I asked for confirmation. So let me give you this formula, ladies, if you're listening. The first one is that you have to write the vision and make it plain, so that it's a write the vision and make it plain on tablets. So that doesn't mean type it in your phone. It means literally for spiritual things, we need spiritual tools. This is a spiritual process. And don't get me started. Okay, so it was a spiritual process. So I recognized that as I grew into the understanding of what the word really means. And so applying that, I said, and I asked for 3 confirmations. So you guys, you can look at Calvin and follow this with me. First confirmation that I asked him to have dimples. He's abundant with dimples. The second thing I asked for is I wanted him to be able to sing, because I just thought it would be so romantic to have a man sing to you, which he does for me all the time. And then the third thing that I asked for was a man in every sense of the word. And I literally asked for that. Right. And Calvin's last name is Mann. Yep. He works with boys, men, husbands, and fathers. Now, understand we had been friends years before that, but I didn't have the eyes to see that.
Got you.
So it wasn't until the timing was right that God allowed me to see that this was the man that I had asked for and I had prayed for. I prayed for Calvin the whole time I've known him. I just wanted him to have peace and to be happy.
That's what's up.
And I prayed for him for that and through my friendship. And so I didn't know that I would be the one to offer that to him. I had never, it took me so by surprise, but that's what I wanted for him as my friend.
That's dope.
And so now I got the opportunity to do that and be that for him. And so in the way that I want, but also in the ways that he needs me to be. So, and that's a growing process. And so I think that was really, for me, the real meeting.
Got you.
The real meeting was when my eyes were open and I was able to see exactly what I asked for. And God was like, wow. So, just from that point forward, we were just growing.
Nice.
Growing.
She left out the stalking part.
Now, Cal, how would you describe y'all friendship like at the time when y'all were just friends?
Oh, it was legit. No question. For me, my family, right? We make friends. We have thousands of friends. All my brothers and sisters, we have thousands and thousands of friends. We don't. We were taught that by way of our parents. My mother and father had thousands and thousands of friends, right? So we were taught always to treat people with respect, right? If you know our family, like people that know our family, there were a number of people that knows our family that consider themselves brothers and sisters to our family, right? And so friendship is something, and integrity and loyalty is something that, as I've shared with Mallard, I call Miles Mallard. Right.
Got you.
and anybody else in my vicinity, I can give you loyalty.
Got you.
It's the one thing that I know I can give, right?
Yeah.
And so we were taught to be respectful. We grew up in a respectful environment, all my brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, cousins, my whole entire family.
Right.
I shared the other day, I was raised by a pimp, 3 All-Americans, 3 state championships. Like I was raised by men.
Yeah.
So we were taught the skills to draw, right? We automatically going to draw, right?
Yeah.
Never had a problem with getting a woman. I don't understand how guys have a problem getting a woman.
Me too.
I never had a problem getting a woman, right? But I believe it was because of what they taught me and what I learned from these men that allowed me to be, right? Plus it's in my DNA code. And that's a whole nother conversation. But friendship wise, right? That's something that we should be able to offer anybody, even though, she talks about that. But, I suggest that for anyone that enters a relationship,
yes,
that you should start at a friendship. That should be your first break.
Yeah.
Right. Because getting to know someone builds the part of the ship. Right. So if it's a friend, you need the part to build the ship. And that's getting to know someone. That's how you travel. Friendships are made to travel. Even the Bible tells us we should respect our friends, know that our friends, because a friend will come to you, and come to your need and support. There were 12 disciples. You know what I mean? So friendship is everything, and friendship to a relationship is very, very important. And you have to get there. And the only way you can really, I find, amount that you can really get there is truth and laughter. If you can't laugh at yourself, and you can't laugh with your mate, like you said, them guys being scared of their mate only because there are a lot of lies in between.
That's it. I agree. I totally agree. When was the moment you knew that Heather was the one for you?
I was literally had went back to cutting hair in 2013. I was struggling. I had lost everything because I opened my mouth and asked God to use me, and he was taking everything that street money and all that other stuff had brought me. It stripped me down to
nothing.
To nothing, brother.
Yeah.
And so at one point I would stand at the bus stop and cry, because I went from 4 houses, 3 cars to
nothing.
A 1 car and renting a crib and in the middle of this purpose. So instead of standing at the bus stop, I started walking all the way from 7 Mile in Evergreen to Schoolcraft in Evergreen, right?
Ooh, that was a hike.
Yeah. But my man, God had put these men in my life that, again, about friendship, right? That I was true to. And they were there for me, right? So I went back to cutting hair in the shop. My man, Tom, was like, dog, you ain't got to walk all the way up here, dog. I can get you a ride, I was like, bet. And so then our relationship, our friendship took a whole nother turn, right? And so I would say, because I was in the middle of fighting for my previous, I would say to him, man, if this don't work out, I believe the only person for me might be the right Wills, and I ain't seen her, right?
Right.
And so it had been a while. So time would go by, and now I'm going through this divorce. And I'm on my revenge tour. Like everybody getting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I was on my revenge tour, so everybody, phone ring, come on.
Yep.
You getting it, right? And so I in the middle of my revenge tour, I ended up in one of my guys' apartment, and I kept saying to him, my birthday, the whole night. I said, man, he's like, man, what you gonna do after you get on? I said, man, I ain't, you see what I'm doing? I ain't gonna stop. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm having a ball. And man, after 20 years, man, you think I'm about to get in another relationship? Right? And so then he brought up, what about the rose? I said, hey, man, whatever. If she show up, I doubt it, because I ain't, heard or nothing. You know what I mean? But if she show up, that's different. I said, but then I don't know, man. I'm having a ball.
Right. Yeah.
And so then the phone rang one night in the middle of the night, and I looked over at my phone, and it was her.
Wow. And that's when your light bulb came on, like,
what you doing calling my phone is what I said.
Yeah.
I picked up the phone like, what you doing calling my phone?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's 1:00 in the morning. Right? Yeah. What you calling my phone? What's up?
Yeah.
Right? And she, I just was calling. I had a dream. Right? Right. She threw the Martin Luther King in there.
All right.
I had a dream that you had a daughter. Right? I said, I got a daughter.
Right.
Right? So one thing, she like, I want to see you. I was like, all right. She said when she get back in town, I said, all right, call me when you get back, right? And I hung up the phone, right? Had company.
Got you.
So next morning, I get up, me and Tom, I jump in the car. I said, man, guess who called me last night? And he was like, who? I said, the Rose. He said, man, cut it out. And I said, yeah, the Rose she called. He was like, wow. Boy, look at you, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up, once she got back into town, we ended up having a meeting.
That's a great way to put it.
Right? And it was over because I like veggies.
Right. Yeah.
Like people
gotta stay healthy.
Well, people bleed because I'm a big guy, but I like veggies.
Right.
So she had some veggie fried rice for me, right?
Nice.
And we got to talking. And I just was like, no, this ain't the time for no serious nothing. I'm having way too much fun, and I'm going through, because she didn't know.
Right.
I'm going through this.
Right.
And, people had thought, when they seen her, they automatically thought we was already, but it was the friendship.
Yeah, that could throw people off sometimes because people not used to the opposite sex being so cool.
Well, I mean, we are, but in this case, we was truly
right
friends.
Got you.
Right? We hadn't even moved into the.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So that's when it started, and then one day I just woke up and it was like, all right, let's do this date thing. Let's try it.
Right.
I pulled out what I tell you, Shani. I pulled my feet out to all them rooms.
I was just about to ask you how hard was it just to drop everybody?
It wasn't hard.
Okay, good.
It wasn't hard.
That's dope.
It wasn't hard. It might have been hard for a number of them because they too had a list with Calvin's name on it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I'm well aware. That's what's up. That's dope.
Yeah.
So when y'all finally came together, right? Like, what was it like to have that 1 year? Like, how long y'all been married?
It's 5.
5 years now. Okay, that's dope. What was y'all first anniversary like?
Well, so Calvin took me to Vegas.
Okay.
Well, he knew I wanted to see the Grand Canyon, but he, it was not a space that I was eager to go to. So he gave me a different lens. So if you spend time with Calvin, he's always introducing you to something new and different.
Got you.
And he's always shifting your lens on how you see the world. And so I had a chance to just relax and see the world through his eyes instead of mine. And he just showed me things and spending time with him. Like I said, we're always laughing. And because he's so honest in how he feels, it's refreshing to have a man to talk to you.
Yeah.
That you don't have to pull information out of, and you can see the transition coming, what he's thinking, but he's not going to make you wait to hear what he has to say, which I really appreciate that, because it's like, what you thinking? You like, you don't have to do all of that. So you give him a moment, but you can see when he's shifting and he's about to share and pour. And so just allowing me to be curious and move around and feeling protected and safe with him, I'll go anywhere. And so I don't have any hesitation or reservation. And so he made things really fun for me. Plus he got me lots of gifts.
That's important.
He got me lots of gifts. He got me my first Pandora. And he was just saying how he wanted to have me, collect those moments. And so it was just poured and showered with attention and love and affection. I didn't have to ask for anything. Yeah. I didn't have to do anything. I just was able to just share time and just be me.
That's dope. Now, was it ever a time where Cal being open, was it ever overwhelming for you, or you were used to it off the rip?
Well, I'm a personal change coach, so that's one. He's, so I talk to people all the time, male and female. So it wasn't that. It is me having to, as my heart is already open. My heart is open. Gotcha. So my heart is open to him. So it doesn't matter what he's sharing, but I experience that with him. So maybe the more difficult point is that as he's sharing things, I'm feeling it too.
Okay.
So you feel, you feel the joy, you feel the hurt, and you feel that. So sometimes, I might, after he's finished sharing, we might have to do some prayer or some spirit work, but just to refocus and recenter why we are in this situation. So just offering each other a different perspective. So listening more than talking. Yeah.
That's important. Now, what is it that you guys, both of you, what do you guys think that most marriages lack, especially in the Black community?
Wow. So most of it is open, honest communication with the foundation of understanding and being able to suspend your judgment. before you even get the words out, we've already have an expectation, we've already made a judgment, and we've already made a decision, and you haven't even heard everything that was said.
Right.
So being able to pause, to take in the information, process it, and process it not just through your feelings and your emotions, but process it through, the time of when things happen, and just being more understanding. I think for me, that's a big part of what I see when I talk to people in relationships and marriages, and why they sustain and why they sometimes dissolve or transition. That and one of the things that Calvin talked about was the lies that are in between, but the lies are also connected to fear. And so you have to unpack the fear, and you have to be able to unpack that fear with that person. And so, and feel safe in doing that, because you're very vulnerable, and any deviation in your facial expression or your body language or your words can close those doors really quickly, because we're so, far in our emotions. And I think that starts to weigh on a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's one of the major things, is that communication piece.
Okay. Cal, what about you?
It's the transition. I think we need to understand when you decide to, because again, a lot of men don't have a problem with marriage.
Right.
They have a problem with selection.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of women don't have the skill set, and a lot of men don't have the skill set. So you have to understand, when you go into a marriage, once you say I do, the start is how you go from a man into a husband. It's the transition. The transition is the most important piece to the marriage.
Yeah.
Right? Being able to transition into a husband. Part of it is what are you willing to give up? Because you only a lot of people are made from a single dose. They don't come from a 2-parent household.
Yeah.
So they don't have the examples. And the only example that a lot of people have is the disrespect and the misunderstanding of a marriage, right? Looking at it from a negative standpoint, right? Where we talk about how family ain't family because we got all this pressure on family, right? Yeah. We said, well, if Uncle Louis won't loan me $100, he ain't, right? But in the process, Uncle Louis went to work for that $100.
Yeah.
Uncle Louis been watching you. So Uncle Louis be like, why would I give you $100 when I know you just about to go out here and get you a bottle and some weed?
Yep.
Or the $100 that I loan you, I may never ever see it again. So it's the character of the relationship, right, that you are building. And once you come together, it starts, each house is built. You can't build your house like the 3 little pigs. You got to build it like the last little pig who built the house with the brick.
Yeah.
So you can't huff and puff and blow it down. So who's on the outside trying to get in, that's where you have to leave them. So in relationships, we have to leave people out of our relationships.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I definitely agree.
In between your transition, because it's in the transition is where I can get lost. In the transition, we were talking about this earlier. The connection is such an important piece, right, in a relationship.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we sever that connection because we don't settle the discussion.
Yeah.
Or the conversation. We don't finish it. And so because I leave and walk out the door, that means I'm open to a connection, and I might connect to the wrong person. And therefore, when I come home, I'm completely disconnected because I'm still in this argumentative state. Whereas when you have truth and understanding at the table, you can come home and talk about it. Or today in technology, you can text and say, I was wrong. Because of technology, you can send an email and say, I was wrong, or I can be better in this area. You can share your thoughts, right? And my son is developing the app, so you'll be able to communicate even better in relationships. But I'm saying that because that's the piece that we miss. I do. Then you have to live through the transition.
Right.
He has to become a husband. He's no longer just a man. He has to become a husband. That's the order. Then he has to become a father. When we come in already as a father, the transition is not as hard. We have to have an understanding in order to transition into that husband, because father has been put ahead.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. And as a wife, women think that they could just show up, cook a meal, give you some booty, and that's it. And I'm a wife. No, the hell you're not.
Yeah, that's not.
Because it's a transition into being a wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at.
Do you guys prefer, like, let's say you guys had an argument. Do you guys prefer face-to-face conversations or via text, FaceTime, whatever? Like,
yeah, we do it all.
Okay. So y'all utilize everything. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
Foot
cool.
of the bed, corner of the bed, side of the bed, dining room table. You know what? I mean? Kitchen.
And I'm glad.
Stove.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that just led me to where I was about to go. Can you guys talk about the importance of sex in marriage?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I think when you think about sex and marriage, you're really talking about intimacy. We had this conversation this morning actually about one of the challenges that some couples have is that she may not know, or he may not know, that her arousal type is that she's in her head. And if her head is not clear, then her sexual experience or, sharing that level of intimacy may not be there. And until that space is clear and she's able to really be connected, because all the other distractions are out of the way, she can really give herself to her husband, because that's a trust factor. And if he doesn't know that, but there are expectations that go along with, there's a different line when you are, or it should be, it's a different line where it's not about performance. Like, performance is looking at yourself as, like you need a scorecard.
Right.
Instead of looking at your partner and say, am I giving you what you need?
Yeah.
So that you can give me what I need. It's an exchange. And sometimes it's not an exchange. Sometimes it's very one-sided. Are you prepared to be in that on either side of that? And so I think sex and marriage is important. One, for health purposes, for both him and her. We both need that stimulation in our organs just to keep the blood flowing in the way that it should. But also to, have a form of release. You have a form of connection, you have to have a form of release. And so as you keep building that in marriage and relationships, you uncover the things that you like and you want, and you have to be able to have a vehicle to express that and understand that it's going to change.
Yeah.
It's not this, it may not be the same frequency as it was your first year. It may not be the same, positions that you used before. I mean, you have to leave room for change and flexibility. And then listening to your partner, what they need, and sharing what you need. I think one of the more challenging issues in relationships, period, is that women have been learning about their bodies through the man, and men have been learning about women's bodies through other vehicles. Not necessarily the woman's body that they're with, but either, pornography, conversations. And women expect men to have all the answers about their bodies. And if we don't do that level of self-exploration, you have to know what you like. You have to know and be able to communicate that. Not in a way that's damaging, not in a way that's punitive, but be able to experience and explore. And in a marriage, it has to be room for that. You might not have done something before, and now you may build that trust where you're open and you can be more vulnerable. So I think sex and marriage has a lot to do with vulnerability and not performance.
Gotcha.
So the more that we have an opportunity to share and explore that, I think the stronger that area of your marriage can be.
That's what's up. What about you, Cal?
I like to do it. My last name is Mann. If my brothers are watching, they know, right? But to be clear, sex in a marriage, it's important for men to understand. There's a difference between sex and lovemaking.
Yes.
It is a process, right? She requires as well. But we forget that the man requires. The problem is the men are not open to that performance. They think she has to be, she has to be aggressive. They see her when she be's aggressive and she got, right? But when she comes out in the 90, it's a different perspective. He changed the tempo. Whereas she requires really gentleness, understanding, listening, holding, making sure you know what she likes. What's her first position she likes? What does she really like? What are these things to get to these places for her? Right. What we found in sexless marriages is the disconnect, which I was talking about earlier. And I tell men this all the time. It's foreplay all day. So what has she set out and talked about since she's been here? Laughter.
Yeah.
That's foreplay.
Yeah, it is.
Right? And the reason why I keep her laughing because that's foreplay. And that allows me to have access. We forget that in order to gain access to a woman, she has to have some things that she needs. In return, she has to give you some things that you need. When are you vulnerable enough to say, hey, I just need you to rub my back tonight? You know what I mean? Or I just need you to hug me. Right? You can walk. We have seen men walk out of households just because the side piece rubbed his head.
Yeah, I've seen that happen too.
You've seen it happen,
yeah.
Where she literally just sat down, massaged his shoulders, rubbed his head. He left the house.
Yeah.
He may not have left it physically, but connection-wise, he left the house. Same for a woman. And we have to be careful of the things that we take in, right? Because these things flow into the seed. And when we have children, this is the biggest process, love making and everything, sex and everything. You were created to procreate life. And so you have to be careful what your thoughts and your processes, because we've had a lot of lust babies. We've had a lot of side piece babies.
Yep.
We've had a lot of rape babies, over 60,000 rape babies in the last few years.
Wow.
Right? Just last year alone, right?
Yeah.
So we've had a considerable amount of children made up not of love. So sex is very, very important to a relationship. And as she stated, to your body, her heart, her lungs, right? Your prostate, your colon. Sex is very important in how we come together and see each other. And those intimate moments is how you build a nation.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Now, have you guys ever talked to another couple that was struggling, like with that situation, like just whether it was a lack of intimacy, lack of something like that even remotely leads to sex?
So it's funny. My boys will never get credit, right?
Okay.
Right, but they'll call and ask, "How should I set up this hotel room?" Right? What should I do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, you send this text, right? No, just send it. No, man, you send it, because I don't. This is something you got to get, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of us, and this is just men. It's because of how we were raised that we misunderstand a woman.
Got you.
Right? And we think from what the television, what the porn and what people said, because the whole thing started me into the work that I was in was the fact that I didn't want to follow what the men had taught me.
Got you. Okay. That makes sense.
I didn't want to do that, right? So I didn't want to be coaching the kid and telling, man, go out here, man, you're supposed to be smashing them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Knock them all down.
Yeah. That wasn't the information that I gave none of my boys.
Yeah.
Right? Now, when we came and had conversations about sex, sure, I poured into them the right way, how to make love to a woman, how to appreciate a woman. I poured that in.
Yeah.
But I didn't pour in, right? And she'll tell you, I had to call one of my former players literally from the bed, like, dog, you out there, don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't do that. He was like, coach. I was like, don't. I called him from the bed because I was watching his actions and seeing him lose his family. You know what I mean? So it's that dynamic that you have to be on point about.
Got you. How often have you guys had to talk somebody off the ledge from stepping out?
Often. 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 And so, some of the advice that I share with women, one, I do a class called The Sensual Arts of the Goddess, which is about self-exploration, but it's also about your sense of sensuality. Some people get obsessed with being sexy, when if you have a sensual experience, it kind of supersedes the sexy. The sexy is for the moment.
Gotcha.
Sensuality is a lifestyle.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but part of that sensuality is exploration. So the more you explore you and you grow with you, it helps to improve your relationships, because now in that space where you may have been timid or shy or didn't know how to express it, in that class, in the Sensual Arts of the Goddess class, there are tools and techniques that you learn about self-mastery, but also about making and building real connection, because it's energetic.
Gotcha.
And so as you learn how to use your energy for women, and then you learn how to amass that energy as a couple and really fuel the experiences that you have. But yes, often, talking somebody out of the ledge, either because they feel like they don't have the same appeal that they had at the beginning of the marriage, or I'm not getting the same level of attention that I had, or I'm feeling more attention from this person than that person, or it's the feeling of value and importance that everybody wants. And so if you happen to be getting more attention outside of home than home, it can be misleading.
Yeah.
It can be, and it can misguide you in your decisions and your choices, because it feels so good to be needed or complimented or gifted, and those are not the experiences that you're having at home. Or you just home fatigue. You can get tired or feel like you're doing everything, managing a house, managing a relationship, managing children, having to go to work, having to do all of the things that it takes to run your household. And it can feel overwhelming. And so that part of, you just want to step back, and you have that conversation with your mate. You should be able to step back. You should be able to take a break with him and without him. And so maybe that break is you take that ballroom class, or you take that exercise class, or that yoga class, or you do a girls' night once a year.
Now,
yeah.
I was just going to ask, now, would you suggest that, like, let's just say it was a few married couples you knew that wasn't having sex. Do you guys suggest they start doing a different activity together so it could kind of help with that, or just so they could build in another direction, basically?
So for me, I put whenever I'm asked that, I go to the man.
Okay.
Because as the head, right, she has a certain need that you have to fulfill.
Right.
It's emotional. So you, as I was sharing earlier, you're disconnected often.
Right.
Because me and you, we have to go out into this world a different way.
Yeah, definitely.
So when I walk out of this world in a different way, I have to kind of disconnect. So then I have to be careful about who I connect with, that I don't bring it into my home where it interrupts my reconnecting. And so a lot of times what happens is when I walk outside the door, is plenty of foolishness. And you already know the numbers weigh in as well. So if I go out and I practice foolishness, when I come into the home to reconnect, it's hard to reconnect from it. So you got to dial down. This is why men sit in the garage. So they sit in the car.
Yep.
Those types of things, because he has to prepare himself to reconnect, because we have it different, right? And so that's why these tools and phones and, I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you. All of those things keeps the connection in range.
Yeah.
And so when I understand that part and I come in, this is supposed to be my sacred space. When I come to her, I am supposed to have the peace.
Yeah.
Peace of mind, peace of heart, peace of booty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to have these things.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I reconnect, she's supposed to have security, care, touch, understanding, listening, even while you sleep. Because I got that gift from my uncle. I can be asleep and still hear her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So you gotta be able to, in these relationships, I try to tell the men that just being the head of the household, being over these things, you also need to understand that the same way you got her is the same way you keep her.
Yep.
And you gotta always keep her smiling. Right? And those are the things that work on your behalf, and you can't entertain those other doors. It is nothing but clowns.
Got you. Now, when you guys go through a patch where you disconnect, which one of you are the first ones to bring it to the table? Like, hey, we off. What's up?
Yes, that would be me.
Okay. Okay.
So I pay attention to, which is a bit annoying for him, but I pay attention to cycles.
Okay.
I recognize when the cycle or the energy is changing in our space. I understand when it's changing with us, and I give him space to go through his process. So I know if I'm paying attention, my husband has a cycle just like I do. It's a different type of cycle. We talked about this in our show last week too. But if I'm paying attention, which I'm paying attention, I know when he's shifting. So either I'll ask, and then I'll give him some time to share, or I'll just step back and give him some space.
Okay.
And so even though it might be eating me up not knowing, but I know he's always going to come and he's going to share. He's not going to leave me out there, but he needs to take this time to work through whatever he needs to work through. And then giving him time and space to go and be. I don't have issues when he's going out. I don't have issues about when he's going to see his friends, or he's saying he's going here or going there. I don't have trust issues with him.
Now, Heather, can you please look into that camera and explain to the women how important it is to let a man process things?
Oh, it is terribly important. Just as bad as we want to know, is just as much space as you need to give. Yeah. And then that trust factor, how does he decompress? You have to allow him to decompress in the way that he needs to, not in the way that you want him to. We want them to decompress right there, giving me itemized list, blow by blow, what happened, where did it happen, how did it I want all of those things, but I can't have all of those things at that time.
Got you.
So it's not, his decompression is not on my time, it's on his time. So giving him the space to be able to do that, trusting that, and he'll tell you this, trusting that my prayer over him when he goes out in the morning and when he comes home at night is covering him. So I don't have to put my faith in him in that way. I put my faith in my source. So I trust God for that. So cover him, cover his thoughts, his mind, his body, the choices that he has to make, and whatever temptations may flash its way past him, allow him to let it pass. So I have to trust that our relationship is strong enough to endure. And in the moments that either one of us feel weakness, that we have a source to turn to. It's not just us in a relationship. We always have a source to turn to. I always turn to God. And I say, y'all know what I say? Lord, show me my stuff. Get your boy.
That's what's up. Now, Cal, can you explain to the men that are listening, and shout out to everybody that's watching, how important it is for them to find some type of outlet before they go home?
So it's not necessarily that you find an outlet before you go home, right? It's really home.
Okay.
Right? It's how you start in that home. The biggest gift she just gave women that's watching and listening is you have to take your man's hand and pray for him. You have to.
Yeah, I agree.
That is your protection over your man. For years, you know, in searching far and wide, it was something I was looking for, right? And it was something I didn't have, right? But that's what I was looking for, because I know where I come from. If a praying woman that you're with pray over you, pray for you, she can bring you home.
That's real.
Regardless to what you face out here, that prayer that she's placed in your life will bring you home. It's men have to decide that they can trust the person that they're with enough to share what they're dealing with. You have to have that friendship in place. You got to be able to. She can't be your woman.
Right.
If you can't trust yourself and your information with her, you're just hitting her.
Yeah.
You're not really with her, right? Women need to understand if a man can't bring to you, because she is an altar, right? If a man can't bring to his woman what the deal, I don't put her in no, where y'all be talking about ride or die. I'm never going to put her in a situation where she has to choose freedom
right.
from a decision that I make, right?
That's real.
That's not protecting her.
No.
So asking her to do something that I know could jeopardize her freedom, I'm not going to put her in that position.
Yeah.
Right? But handing her some things to increase our freedom, where she can use her gifts to multiply. We are still operating, men are still operating from the patriarchal system that he's the only brain in the home.
Yeah.
That is failure today.
I agree.
God has given women gifts as well. The problem is that what you don't want is you don't want the woman to act like a man, right? Because it's false.
Yeah.
She can never be a man. So her acting like a man means she will yield the results that a man would yield with power. So she will destroy her marriage.
Yeah.
The same for a guy. I can destroy my marriage by yielding the power that I have, and I know that I have it.
Yeah.
Right? By having multiples. By going out here and lying and manipulating and lying, and now I got 3-4 doors open. And the devil is in all 3 of the doors. And when I walk into the house, I bring it with me, which causes problems. So I tell the men, don't break that deal that you have spiritually.
Yeah.
Because then you will open the door to the negative thing. So it's just an important piece for men to understand. You have to trust that person, that mate. And if they don't show it, they're not the one. And if she can't trust it, if he doesn't show that he can bring vulnerability and understanding, and it's just go, 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 and he always needs something from you, it's just not the relationship for you. And then this last piece is, if you never hear him say, oh God, help me. A man has to have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
And if the woman never hears him say, oh God, help me, right? You're going to have an issue every time.
I agree. I definitely agree. Now, what's some advice that you two can give any married couple, whether they're newlyweds, looking to get married again, or just want to stay married, but they going through a rough patch? What advice would you give them before we get out of here?
Well, my advice would be, one, to understand that you are going to change. Leave room for change and communicate expectations. We have hidden expectations that are never surfaced, but we are expecting those expectations to be met. And that's a disservice to yourself and your marriage, and it's a setup. So, yeah, make sure that you're communicating what your expectations are, and then giving room for change and growth.
That's what's up. That's good.
I would tell the man, sharpen your pilot skills, get better, learn how to lead, be proper in your leading. And I would tell the woman to sharpen her co-pilot skills so she can multiply and control what is happening with the plane. When we don't understand each other, then that plane is going to crash. right? And so it's important that you get better at being a leader and being a husband and being a father. And she gets better at being a wife and being a mother, right? These are things that you have to work at throughout the relationship, and that's communication and everything. And I think that's important, that you take those steps in a relationship.
That's real. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for getting the comments. Thank y'all for watching, sharing. Appreciate it. This was a great show. Y'all heard it from Calvin and Heather Mann. Listen, go back if you missed the beginning, go back and watch it. This was a great episode, and I appreciate y'all. Y'all the first couple that I've had on my show. So thank y'all for joining me. I appreciate it. Catch y'all next week, ladies and gentlemen. We out of here. Indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talks with Todd.